we realize that we're in like this evolving world, and where people want more custody, more freedom, and so that's kind of the goal with Blend, is like being able to come on chain from every parts of the world and give them this financial freedom.
Welcome to the DevNTell podcast, where founders, hackers, and anyone in between showcase their products built on the bleeding edge of tech. GM, welcome to the show, Jamie and Manny. Excited to have you guys on.
Yeah, thanks for
Glad
having
to
us.
be here.
Yeah, we're excited.
My pleasure. I'm always quite fond of the stories of DD members starting their own company. There's been a lot. The DD Factory, DD Community Factory, it's been spewing out these awesome startups, and you guys are no different. And I'm ecstatic to have you guys here to tell the story behind Blend. But before we get into that, would you guys just like to give a brief introduction about yourselves?
Yeah, I'll kick it off to Jamie first.
Of course. Hi, everyone. I'm Jamie, the CTO of Blend. I got into crypto in 2014. I spent a long time there, mostly personally. I made it into crypto professionally in 2022, where I joined UMA and Across, spent 3 years there. And then I realized, why not actually make an impact with DeFi and how it works? I noticed that DeFi is fundamentally, there's no common interface, so I wanted to be able to actually help that.
Yeah, thanks, Jamie. For me, it's a story of how all developer DAO members got into crypto, right? And that's shout out. That's, everyone knows who this person is. Shout out to Natter, this beautiful like NFT that appeared. No one really know what to do. You went to Etherscan. You blew way too much gas on this thing. But you minted it. You got into this community. It made you feel like home. And it taught you like the first things of smart contract development. We all made NFTs. Developer DAO was an NFT, classically trained, quote unquote, educated in like computer science and discrete math. Did the whole Web 2 thing. One big notable company, I guess. I've worked at a few, but I worked at BlackBerry. Did the whole like the Web 2 grind there. I'm Canadian, so shout out. I love my Canadian companies. And then there, developer DAO was a natural fit. I bounced around as like this, what's this like cool DAO thing? DAOs were like a way that we thought like you can congregate as a collective and get cool things done. And developer DAO got a lot of cool things done. And I got to contribute at like a lot of other cool DAOs, Arbitrum, all these other places. And then naturally, slowly get away from Web 2 and say, hey, I want to stick my feet into this. And that's kind of where I landed in the journey of, meeting Jamie at Risk Labs. Also, the founder's Canadian as well, which also helps Canadian vibes, everything through. So that was like my whole story. Same idea, was super interested on like solving that problem of, I like prediction markets, powering prediction markets. This was cool. So let me go help grow that. I love like the idea that bridges are like existing. People are not going to be on one chain. So that kind of made me really like eager to go and contribute in this space.
Amazing. And yeah, you hit the nail on the head there. It's just like a lot of people that started in the DAO came in there out of curiosity, like myself. I indeed blew too much gas on those NFTs, but the NFTs were free. I didn't have to pay $100,000 to buy a JPEG. But it was that gas investment was one of the best I think I've made in my lifetime so far. You get to meet a lot of friends, get to learn a lot of interesting technology, and the vibes in the DAO are immaculate. So, it kind of brought us together in a way. So, that's amazing. And you guys mentioned you both used to work at Risk Labs. I know Manny was always tooting the horn of UMA and whatnot. So, just curious, like, from your time, your guys' time working together, was there ever a point where you're like, oh, like I think I can contribute back to the world a little bit more than I can here, and like, what's kind of the inspiration between you guys, kind of breaking off from this labs and kind of starting your own thing?
Yeah, I think Manny, you can take that one.
Yeah, you want me to take that one? Okay. The Risk Labs, like, great company, great culture, all that great stuff there. But what landed me and Jamie closer is like this common thing of like camaraderie. So we hung out, played a lot of Fortnite together, and it was just like, it just started off as like very humble, like friends, and say, hey, what are you doing in the evening after work? Like the DAO, right? What are you doing? Let's play some Fortnite. And then it just like, hey, I made this, I made that. Where are you sticking it in DeFi? And it's like, oh, this is so like, this experience is like really horrible. Like, can we like do something here? And we're like, yeah, like we work on a product that's so like crypto native. What if we thought about like this awesome promise of bringing normal people into DeFi? Like it's almost like a fundamental right for us to have like savings. Like, how do we move humanity past like day-to-day paychecks and not worry about like, oh my God, is this like centralized body going to take my money? We have this like decentralized body. So like, why not take our expertise, minus growth? Jamie's is like building these really robust DeFi systems, and like, let's start conquering this world. It was all fun and games on Fortnite. We like tinkered around and talked about it. And then we just got serious about it and said like, okay, like a one point of like dreaming about it. And then other point of is putting pen to paper or code the smart contracts and saying, let's push something out and let's talk to early customers. Is there interest in this? And then it was just this natural curiosity. And you'll see me quote this a lot, like action provides information. Shout out to Brian Armstrong from Coinbase. And I just that's like the motto of Blend.
Yeah. And yeah, I have that quote stapled in my mind every day. It's just like, you got to do things, and after you do things, you'll get information. And yeah, and I guess you touched on it briefly. A lot of the DeFi ecosystem, it's getting better now, but it's very tough to go from that 0 to 1 of like, oh, I've bought my first Sats, bought my first ETH. In your guys' opinion, what are some of the core issues maybe still at play that are hindering a lot of people from going past that first stage?
I think a lot of it is accessibility. It's hard to reason about connecting to an application when you need to have an extension to even get started. It's also hard to get money onto a service in the first place if, in order to get money into an economy, is a YouTube tutorial on how to even connect and where to send money and how to send money and all of the steps in between. So I'm confident that the improvement of UX there is really going to come from people being able to connect directly to the systems that they trust, and where Web3 acts almost as a companion to start to these Web2 technologies so that people can more easily onboard. So I think it's in general an onboarding problem.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with that. Onboarding, and then, we're trying to like shift the paradigm, and we can go deeper in the technology. How do you build like in this newer paradigm? But one thing you'll realize is that like we try to make sure that you can come on to Blend the most comfortable way. And so we like to think ourselves as like a Web 2.5 company. Google, log in, come from your Coinbase, like SEX, you can do Revolut coming on, other like onboarding products. That's just because like the demographic that we're chasing are people that are comfortable with these services. They may not even want to connect their bank account, because that's always like a little bit iffy. We'll connect your Revolut or your Cash App or your other like app into the thing. Don't want to connect your bank account. It's like it's your secret like spot. So, but that's what we kind of been focusing on, is just onboarding and then meeting the users where they are. Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. And yeah, I guess this is a nice segue. What's your guys' elevator pitch of Blend for the non-DeFi native person that might be watching the show today?
Yeah, I mean, it's a quite simple pitch in the sense that we want to meet you where you are, and that means like this can be a companion product to whatever you have right now. So if you are a Revolut user, you can only hold about $20,000 at 2% on your account. Where do you want to remainly keep some of your other money? On chain is the next services, and it can move money back and forth to your Revolut account very seamlessly. This is the bridge between like Aave DeFi, where we give more different types of yield if you are looking not to commit to one service. So I am a big fan of Aave, big fan of Morpho, big fan of so many of these products, but also I'm a big fan of diversification because we're slowly but surely maturing as an industry. So you don't want to stick your eggs in one basket, and Blend lets you do that and have the best things, but you also don't want to be a DeFi like person and manage all this stuff. And so that's the goal with Blend. It's like gives you diversification, come in anywhere you want, any market. So USDC, if you think in euros, if you think in Brazilian real, we meet you where you at any economy. And then simply as we grow, we'll help you get yield on other cool assets like Bitcoin, natural gas, gold. And this is a product where basically we're in the middle of between, not a perps trader, and you're not just a yield farmer. You're something that wants to take some kind of, like you have an educated guess where you want to go. And if you don't, you can come in the conservative side. So.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, well said. I've been playing around with Blend a little bit, deposit a little bit of money there just to see the look and feel and to support the friends here. And you guys have taken at least your first iteration, it looks like, is towards the stablecoin end. And you guys are big on being able to support people globally. I guess for people that might not realize, why is it important to support more than just USDC and other global, and kind of expand to other global currencies?
Yeah. One of the things that we don't get to choose in this world is where you're born. Where you're born, what language you speak, where you hold your money, and what money you actually live and breathe in. And for a lot of people, if their native currency isn't USD, you're effectively taking an FX hedge every time you onboard into DeFi, or an FX risk rather. And at some point, if you're earning these DeFi yields or you're playing with DeFi in general, you could be losing more in total if you happen to be in a currency that did not do well against the US dollar. And given that lens, if we want to onboard the next billion people in the middle class by 2030, you need something that's not going to feel like an FX risk every time you open the screen, every time you install that, every time you connect with a stablecoin. And conversely, the other problem is right now the liquidity of non-USD stablecoins is quite low. And so the reason that Blend has stepped in to fill that wedged stopgap is simple, right? We found out, we kind of published our white paper, and that's how we decouple exposure from where your yield is being generated. So we want people to come on chain. We want people to be able to express their balances in terms of their local currency, because this way, if you have a flat tire, if you want to go out to get drinks on a Friday night, you can pull that money out. It feels like savings. But at the same time, you don't want people to be exposed to yield that's 0%. Right? Like if you wanted to, some of these stable coins just don't have yield products. So how do we get that USD yield with the stable coin feel of local regional currencies? And that's sort of where Blend sits. And we just don't want people to lose out on that opportunity if they happen to live in a different region where their bank account does not reflect US dollars and they're just kind of priced out of the market.
Yeah. I mean, the other side of the story is like, that's why we also, if you do want shelter, you can come into Blend and saying, hey, I live in a currency that is doing poorly. I want USD, but I don't think in USD. I think in Brazilian real. for example, and now your screen and your FX gains and all that stuff is like correlated with it going up and down and deep liquidity. But if you live in Europe or in Japan, you don't want to hold the US thing because if DeFi generates you 7%, the currency got stronger or weaker and you've lost all your 7% gains. So that was where our architectural choices, where we believe that singly managed accounts in traditional TradFi should come into DeFi. So we have created a newer paradigm for DeFi, which we call SMAs, that does not rely on pooled structure. So your money is your money and it's not commingling with other people in the pool. And we think that's the correct paradigm for global savings. It's like, you shouldn't be in a gigantic pool. It's your thing. And Jamie has one good analogy, which is we like to think of things as cookie jars, which is if you think about traditional DeFi, you'll rip the lid off of one cookie jar. It takes all the cookies with it. Someone takes it. Now, if blend is basically 100,000 small cookie jars, Narb's cookie jar is separate from Manny's cookie jars. If you take Manny's cookies, you don't touch Narb's cookies. And that's the way savings kind of scales. And that also lends well why we can decouple yield from exposure, because Narb or Manny lives in Canadian dollars. So I want exposure in Canadian dollars. Jamie lives in US. Jamie wants one of the listeners live in Europe. They want euro exposure, but guess what? The liquidity still lives in USD. So we want to give you safe savings. So we have to do it in a way where there's enough liquidity, and that's where Blend steps in to solve that problem. That kind of jumps into like what Blend is in our unique positioning, but I kind of teed you up there, Narb.
That's excellent. I love, go for it.
You just jump in 1 second. Like the really cool bit is your cookie jar on mainnet is a different cookie jar than your position on base. So we're even fractionalizing the individual user. So if something goes wrong on one chain, the user in maybe a different savings account of that same user is isolated. So like the isolation is like a fractal, right? We kind of recursively generate cookie jars, so to speak.
Awesome.
Lots of cookies.
Lots of cookies. That's what we want. The audience likes cookies. Yes, I would love to kind of see this in action, and I love our audience to kind of see this in action as well. If you guys want to bring up your screen and kind of take us on a tour of Blend and some of its.
Do you want me to do that, Jamie? Or you want to do that?
I think that would be great.
Let me do it.
You might have a better balance than I do right now. I've got the dev account.
All right.
All right.
Let me know when you see my screen.
Can you zoom in just a bit on your screen, Manny?
I can't. That's
good. That's great. Yeah.
Okay. So we can start with Blend on like a logged out state. We talked about this, and I'll go pretty quickly. The logged out state is like, we still want you to feel web 3-ish, which means it's like you can still feel preview of the app without actually signing up. I think that's like become a de facto thing that we've learned. A lot of people hide that away, but users still want to see what they're going to play with. But what we do is we allow you to see all the types of accounts that you can create. We let you do all the fun things, because like long-term savings and is healthy habits, which is deposits and like time in market. So we let you play with this. You can see that I love for demos to think in Brazilian reals, because I think it's a really fun currency to kind of think about. So when I come in, my positions, my dashboard's already set up, but you could set it up. What we call the USD protection. This is the launch on the USD protection. These are some of the weaker currencies that potentially want to come in and save their money in US dollars, but they still think in day-to-day in Brazilian reals, which is completely fine. You sign in. We want to give you like a very nice sign-in experience. You can sign in with your Google account, which is nice. Make it really easy for the users to come in. That it automatically generates you a Privy wallet. And then what you don't see right now is, because I'm already a user, it'll let you create what we call a one-to-one Gnosis safe. So that's what we said. These are all individually, singly managed accounts. So my Gnosis safe is already created, and this wallet is the owner of that Gnosis safe. So you have all that abstraction. But right now we're offering USDC, and all these native pairs will come on board, and then we'll keep going to other markets, gold, natural gas, SPY, the list will go on for types of exposures that you could trade on Blend. You can deposit via debit card or bank. That's all seamless. You pick your on-ramping. It all comes in with one click. External wallet for people that have wallets that they have money outside of, like already a crypto wallet, and then they can bring that into Blend. And when it comes into Blend, it sits in your Blend wallet. So what we've said is like, we understand from our users that you don't want to keep your external wallet always connected to the website. You just want to bring in maybe $50 a week, and you'll drip it in how you please. And so you can do that. So here I have $10 of USD. I have that in. I want to bring that into Blend. Everything is gas sponsored. Everything is taken care of. You don't really think about this. We can even keep extracting this further, but for now, we're in this like nice like state of like crypto. People still want information, and so that all is going to be allocated. The funds are in transit. You can see all the allocations that we're going. We're very clear. One thing that Blend is that we have a full quant shop that does a full due diligence report, transparency. If you think of like ETFs, you think of other things, they publish reports. What are they doing? What's the risk profile? That's all available here in this due diligence report, which will just take a little second to load up as it like ties into our back end here. And you can see everything that from risk profile. You can see change logs. You can see what the quants are thinking. You can see all those things. Like Blend is very, very on top of everything. We'd even caught like stream finance stuff 3-4 days, and the users were all like, everybody was like, he already knew that something was acting funky. So it's like we said, everything is positioned for long-term savings. You should be able to press that withdraw button anytime you want, no constraints. Yeah. And so then we go into more gamification. You can have your daily rewards. There's people allowed. You can come and spin for more like points. There's a dashboard as well.
Manny, let's maybe bring up the Blend intelligence.
Yeah, in a second. And we'll go through this like the leadership board. You can have all the leadership board here for the users. So you can see all that. Another thing that we're working closely with Base is like local stablecoins. So you can swap into your Brazilian real cheaper than you can do on like off-chain products. You can do your euros, Singaporean dollars, and we'll keep adding more and more currencies for your global FX. And then you can off-ramp them directly to your bank. So you're going to go visit Brazil, take your USDC, swap it to a Brazilian real, off-ramp it, and you have Brazilian real access. And then one step further is how do we bring this normie feel in? Everyone loves their LLMs, their favorite LLM, whether it's Claude or it's ChatGPT. And now we've gone further. And so you can just say like, talk to Blend. You can ask things like, how do you manage risk? And so that's like a predefined one, but you can ask it more things like, I want to swap. And it's like, okay, what do you want to swap? And it'll walk you through the whole process. So we want to like normalize DeFi in a nice, comfortable way so that people that don't really want to know all the nitty gritty stuff can just go to the Blend Intelligence and ask it to do things like withdraw, deposit. What is this Euler earn? What is this thing? Tell me in normie languages. That's kind of the goal, like lower the barrier, have a full like bank account feel, and just make you have another companion product in your savings journey.
That looked amazing, and just curious, how long has it been since you guys started working on Blend? Is it a year, more than a year, less than a year?
It's been a while. We officially launched in January, and every bit before that has been 16-hour days. A lot of cursor credits, a lot of back and forth internal feedback. We are really like specific about intentionality. So everything that you've seen on the site, we've probably debated whether or not that pixel should be there 3 or 4 times over. And in a lot of ways, that's created the site you see. But honestly, it's a lot of weekends. We're really passionate about this.
Just add a little bit.
8 audits.
Hate it. I was just gonna say one thing that I love, Jamie, being the CTO, never a skimp on an audit. 8 audits deep. Trust me, as a startup company, There's nothing more in Web3. Why they think Web3 is expensive to build is audits. They really hurt you. And shout out to some of our audit companies. They've done a really good job. Shout out to Sherlock. Thank you so much. Shout out to even Pantina. I think we worked with a few other ones.
Zelic was class act. Everyone's been a class act.
Everyone's been a class act. We really recommend some of these auditing companies and go. They give you fair prices when you're a startup company, and that's key. They don't make you feel like you're going to get crippled by doing this audit, which I think is like an important paradigm in Web3. It's very hard to build in Web3 for that reason.
Yeah, 100%. And I've gone through an audit process as well, and it's you can really get into a lot of complexities if you don't choose the right one, and a lot of them are pretty good at kind of guiding you along. So shout out to you guys for taking security seriously, and the UX looks good, and the sweat equity shows in in it. And I guess so the front facing side was what you just showed. For our developer audience, are there any available SDKs or APIs people can tap into Blend's infrastructure and kind of build their own version?
Yeah. So Blend has an API, a full API and a full SDK. What we really wanted people to look at, that app that you see is like the canonical implementation. It's the kitchen sink in a lot of ways. You can see all of these features that have been embedded and how the adaptive savings account iterates through all this process. But the really cool thing is everything you see is a thin client over our SDKs and APIs. So if you go to our docs, we have a full API, we have a TypeScript SDK. There's a lot that you can do with those alone, where you can integrate a savings, like I think a 7 or 8% savings account rate right into your dApp with minimal uptick. With that Privy wallet, that's just something that we do for our own dApp, but Blend is set up to be export, or like anyone can own that safe. An EOA can own that safe. A smart contract can own that safe. So in a lot of ways, you have a full set of like who can own what, where, when, and why, and the SDK lets you do that, which gives you a lot of control when you're building like yield services, or if you're a neobank or a fintech where you want to be able to provide yield, the SDK will help you get there.
Yeah, that they also get to tap into like the SMA technology NARB, which is like, I think for a lot of things, and there's 3 stable coins that are building on top of Blend right now. So these are robust things. So they don't want to do the heavy lifting. They also want each of their users to be in isolated safes to go on all the extra safety for DeFi. And so this is what Blend enables for them to do. And like there's a curator layer. So if that stable coin wants to curate different types of strategies using the Blend infrastructure, that is also possible. You don't have to use Blend's vanilla strategies. You can say, hey, we are building a product that only wants this, and this as our yield sources. Very possible.
Narb, in a lot of ways, what we did was created one unified interface for DeFi, where theoretically a provider, like a company, could create these yield constructs and give it to their downstream users, and they can interface with those SMAs with a Web 2 API, all non-custodially. So we're calling the concept isolated cohesion, where everything is isolated, everyone's in their own cookie jar, but the cohesion bit is this intent, right? Like the system creates an intent of what your basket should look like, and then our execution layer executes that and puts things where they need to be. Every chain is operated independently so that we can do rapid rebalancing across every chain in isolation. So it really is an intent-based framework we designed, and it's really to bring that SMA technology into DeFi because, frankly, Vault and pooled funds are cool, but they're very prone to things, a whole gamut of risk. And that's why we decided to make our implementation very easy to integrate.
Love that. Amazing, amazing. And you guys have done such a great job up to this point. I'm just curious, what's your guys' North Star vision, long-term roadmap for where you see Blend heading, either this year or and beyond?
Yeah, I'll give like the growth answer, and Jamie, you can give some of the technical answer. So the growth side is like, we realize that we're in like this evolving world, and where people want more custody, more freedom, and so that's kind of the goal with Blend, is like being able to come on chain from every parts of the world and give them this financial freedom. Like, I keep saying this sounds sappy, but if you want humanity to scale, if you don't need to think about if you have enough money for your next meal, there's less harm that happens in the world. We're all kind of like chippy and cheery. If I'm hangry is a real problem, right? And so our like ideal goal is to bring 1 million users to use Blend and have an average deposit size of $10,000. We think that's a nice like little nest egg that everyone should shoot for. That gives Blend roughly a $10 billion AUM. We want to be part of this whole growth. And the next thing we want to see is integrating with Web 2 Neo companies, Web 3 Neo companies, and let you guys do what you do really well, which is maybe sometimes it's your cards, whatever. And we help you all on the yield side, making sure that your users are safe and they have this experience that can like level up their life.
Yeah, and I think from the technical side, we're trying to do two things. One, we think that continuing to build this system is going to generally raise the floor on how Web 2 companies and Web 3 companies can interface into DeFi. We don't want to take away the primitives. I think primitives are amazing, but at some point you need glue. You need some type of glued product to kind of bind it all together and package it into something a bit more easy to digest. And that's what we're working. That's kind of our tireless North Star. The other side is simply, we've been working closely with this concept of decoupling yield from exposure. And what you can get in those types of situation is you can create, as long as there's a perp market or some effective trading volume and liquidity depth for something, you can take a position where your total basket is exposed to that position and still earn yield. And like the TLDR there is, we're basically going to, in the next 2026, we're going to be able to create yield bearing assets for any asset that can be traded. So Bitcoin, ETH, like Bitcoin with 8% yield, ETH with 8% yield, uranium with 8% yield, gold, silver, like the S&P. We're basically going to create any asset with a trading position, like anything that you can trade, you can earn 8% yield on. And that's the goal. That's the unlock that SMA technology gives the world. And you'll see that in 2026 when we roll that out.
Awesome. I love that. That's amazing. And a little bit of alpha for the folks watching today.
Stick around.
Stick around. That's right. And as we're kind of closing in on time here, just wanted to. I'm always curious to hear from the founder's perspective, like for our audience today, if there's someone in the crowd that might be thinking about starting their own project, maybe with their friend or a group of friends, what's, I guess, one key piece of advice you give to them to help them get on their way?
I can go first, Jamie, and then let you go give your version. Find a cool group of people to hang out with, which is like Developer DAO. Like having I gotta plug in the community that is a really thing. You need cool people that understand technology and understand like what's going on to build the right product. So like, I am a pretty sap for this, but build something that solves your own personal problem first and then expand from that. That's literally what we did. I'm Canadian. I wanted to have like yield in Canadian dollars, and so I was like, how do I do this? That was like the first thing we wanted to solve. And then I wanted to say, like, teach my parents this cool idea of like what is like crypto and what's the easiest way for them to give in, like build something that they can use as well. So I always stand as like build something cool for yourself. If you build something for yourself, then you're much more entitled to keep working on it. If you're building, it's like, oh, I'm going to raise $1 billion doing this. We've all seen people raise lots and lots of money. It doesn't mean that the product is going to make things. At least if nothing goes further, you build something cool that you're proud of. I think that's like the North Star.
I like that, right? That's why every developer starts with a calculator. I think you build something you can use. Genuinely, Narb, I would say my advice to everybody and to anyone who wants to create a startup, who's in the process of creating a startup and who has gotten at least their first no, is to really condition yourself to accept no, because that person may or may not just see the vision. Right? Everybody at some point has to be tested on this. And I think the biggest takeaway that we've had with Blend is just to remain highly convicted, really be like fueled up by your idea, right? Because it's kind of what you're hanging your hat on. So make sure that it's something that you're completely and wholly convicted to, because you are going to get no's, and your job as a founder will be to either prove them wrong or explain to them why your conviction is going to be the most held winning solution. So yeah, I would just say, I guess just that, just keep at it, basically.
I think that's wonderfully said from both of you. And thank you for sharing that. And hopefully that ignites a spark under somebody watching today, maybe in the DD community, to get going with their startup. No better time than now. And just before I let you both go, I know you're very busy. How can people get started with Blend? How can they keep up with all the news? I also saw that you guys had recently launched an ambassador program. What's the best way for people to get involved?
Yeah, follow the Blend Money account. Obviously, Discord is a cool place to hang out. But if you're not, like, if Discord is not your thing, just follow the account. We started an ambassador program, because we think that like there's a lot of like DeFi enthusiasts out there, and they want to learn about DeFi. So like, what's the best place to learn from DeFi? You want to like contribute to a project, and like I would say a good chunk of everyone that's probably listening that has a job, you contributed at some company or some product that you loved, and now that expertise turned into a full-time job. And so that's the key. That's why we built the ambassador program, is curiosity. If DeFi fuels you up and you want to learn everything about DeFi, then we're one team. We are happy to like take you out of the shadow, be our ambassador, preach what we're building if you think it's great. And that's how you actually harden your skills. We're in a new society where resumes are built by participating and getting your hands dirty. And that's why we made the ambassador program.
Well said. Well said. And all that information will be in the description of this episode below. So definitely check that out. And with that, Manny, Jamie, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to come chat with us today. This was really fun. Hope you guys had fun as well. Yeah, really looking forward to seeing how Blend evolves into this year and beyond.
Great. Thanks, Narang.
Thank you, Narang.
Appreciate it.
Take care.
Sure. All right, all. Hope you have a very great Wednesday, Thursday ahead, and we'll catch you back here this Friday for another episode of DevNTell. Till then, have a good one, folks. Cheers. If you enjoyed this episode of DevNTell, be sure to subscribe to never miss an episode. Till the next one, cheers.